Hi guys, this is Cathy from whencathycolors, and today we will be doing a colored page from one of Chameleon's color card packs. Each color card pack has about 8 designs, and today I'll be doing the pack on the sweet treats set. And I do love this because it has a lot of sweets and different cakes and pastries or desserts. So today I'll be choosing to do the cupcake. And what's great about this pack is that it comes with a color card guide, which you guys can use. Or for today, I'll be using something a little different because I'll be doing a rainbow style cupcake. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is put a few more details using the detail pen onto our color card, because if you guys notice, the print doesn't come all the way up to the edge of the paper, and since I will be using this for a scrapbooking project, I do want all the lines to meet till the edge. So I'll be using the 0.4 mm tip, the smaller tip, just so that I can get a little bit more control in adding the details. So what I do is just follow all the lines which the artist has already put for us, and I just draw all the way up till the edge. What's great about this pen is that it works really well with your chameleons, so that you're sure that the ink won't bleed whenever you do a color blend and do some layering on top, because there is a chance that if you use a different color, if a different pen, some pens do bleed out when there's too much alcohol in them, or if you add some water on top of them. Alright, almost done. Now once we have that done, we'll move on to the next part of our coloring. Okay, on to the frosting. So let's work on the cupcake itself. And since I want the cupcake liner to be a rainbow, I want to keep the frosting to be a neutral color. So I will be aiming for a whitish color. So I'll be using turquoise, which is BG3, and I'll be using the brush tip. So while we're doing the fuse, let me talk a while about deciding what your light direction or light source is. So for mine, I want this area to be the light source, which means that all the stuff in this area will be more or less lighter than this area. That way we can create an illusion of depth. So I fused for around 5 to 6 seconds, and then I'll just do it in little sections. So sweeping from this area, going on to the opposite area. Right, we really want a nice and subtle color right there. So again, fuse. Now for each succeeding little ripple on the frosting, I want to do progressively smaller and smaller fuses or shorter times for it. So I just fuse for around 4 or 5 seconds for each, just so that I can keep the really light blue color, because I want to give the illusion that it is a white vanilla cupcake frosting. So again, fuse. Now this section is a little longer, So I will be fusing for around 5 to 8 seconds. And again, you just start from one side and work your way to the other. Okay. Again, for around 5 to 8 seconds. Alright, now with the frosting done, let's move on to the cupcake liner. And I've counted the number of sections ahead, and there are about 11 of them. So I went up and already chose 11 colors in the rainbow in advance. So we'll start off with RD4 or crimson red. And then each section is quite short, so you don't need to fuse for too long. So this is around 5 seconds each. Again, I'll be using the brush tip for this. So you want to start off from the top, work your way downwards towards the base of your cupcake liner. Okay, if you find yourself that you want to blend it out a little bit more, just dial it back by fusing again and just blend it out. Okay. All right, perfect. Next one. So we'll be using a red orange or a vermilion. This is RD3. Be using the brush tip for again another 5 to 8 seconds. Right after that, let's do the next color, which is OR3 or tangerine. Alright, our next color is yellow, which is mellow yellow, YO2. From yellow, we will move on to our greens. So this is Spring Meadow, YG3. Our next color is Grass Green, GR3. And then we'll go back and use the same turquoise we did earlier, which is BG3. And our next color is royal blue or BL6. Another blue, but this time a blue violet, BV4. And then finally our purples. So we'll be using VO4 or deep violet. And then finally, we will be using mauve or VO2. Alright, so that's basically the cupcake paper, which we've already worked on. Next, we'll be working on the rest of the page, but make sure that you just keep the colors that you've already used on the table because we'll be needing that. Alright, now let's work on the other tiny details on this cupcake. So we can start first with the cherries. We're gonna go back and use again RD4 or crimson red and use the brush tip. Now since I want to cover the whole fruit in one go, I will be fusing for around 8 to 10 seconds. Now you start off from the light source and then you want to move in a circular fashion because after all we want to give the illusion that the cherry is spherical. So you want to move your pen in a circular fashion, then all the while blending it out. And then once you hit the edges of the cherry, you want to just move in a sort of semicircle. Right? Okay, let's do the other two. So again, 8 to 10 seconds. Again, start from the light source and then you want to move in a circular fashion so that you can create this illusion of a sphere. Alright. Now since we already have a red out, we want to do the sprinkles in a rainbow fashion or color as well. So I'm just going to pick at random one or two to color red. And I won't even need to fuse it. I'll just dab a little bit of color on some of them. Alright. Cap. Okay, next, let's do the leaf of our cherry. So we'll just use another color we've already used before, which is YG3 or Spring Meadow. And then we'll just fuse around 4 or 5 seconds. Right? And again, since I already have my green out, I wanna just pick a couple to color for our sprinkles. Okay. And finally, for this orange segment, I will be using OR3 or tangerine. And since it's a large area, I'll be fusing for around 10 seconds. And again, since we already have tangerine out, I'll just pick one sprinkle to color orange. Alright, now there's a little bit of the frosting melting off on this side, so I want to go back and use my turquoise BG3 and just finish that up. And it won't take more than 5 seconds to fuse this since it's such a tiny area. Right? Now, all that's left for us to do is color in the other sprinkles. So I want to put a little bit of purple in there, or this is VO4 or deep violet. You don't really need to use the fuse chamber anymore since it's a small area. You just want to color some at random and just fill it up. Blue and so I'm just using up again whatever colors we already used for the cupcake liner. So that's yellow, and then let's add some of that dark green. Make it nice and lively, and a bit of that vermilion. Alright, now since we have a nice rainbow cupcake, I do want it to be made of chocolate. So I'll be using Bark, BR5, for a nice deep chocolate brown color. And you just want to use it or fuse it for around 4 or 5 seconds. And then another fuse since I want to do this chocolate topping on the wafer stick to be the same color as well. I will be fusing for around 4 seconds. Okay. And then finally, for the wafer part of that wafer stick, I will be using a lighter brown, which is NU4 or caramel. And since it's a tiny area, you only need to fuse for around 3 to 4 seconds. Alright, and I want to use the same color for the ribbon. So just fuse it just for a few seconds, maybe a couple of seconds, just to get the color a little bit lighter. And just color the edges of the ribbon. Oops. And then finally, let's work on the background. So for the background, since we have a lot of colors going on in the front, I just want to work on very light colors so that it brings our cupcake forward. So I'll be using sky blue or BL3, and this will be a long fuse because I want this whole area to be light and this area to be dark, which means I will be coloring from this end all the way here. So I will be fusing for around 15 to 20 seconds on this one, and I will be using the brush tip. So instead of starting from all the way there at the tip, I will cheat a little bit and start over here just so that I can get a lot of area covered without having to use too much of the fuse. Then let's work on the little squiggles or patterns in the background. I do imagine them to be made of caramel, if that makes any sense. So I will be using the color of the same name, NU4, and I will be just fusing the, for this time, I will be using the bullet tip because I want that fine point for all of these tiny details. So I'll be just fusing for around 5 to 8 seconds for each. And just start off from the lightest area, moving down. So for each line, I'll be more or less using the same amount of time for the fuse. And finally, let's do the squiggles. Final step, we'll just add a few more shadows at the very bottom of the cupcake and at the bottom of the cherries with the same color, NU4 caramel, just so that it doesn't look like the cupcake and cherries aren't floating in midair. So I just put a really light line underneath, and the same thing goes for this other one. And it's as simple as that. All done. So thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you again next time. Bye.